Welcome to Lesson 7. This is an exciting lesson as we will now work with jQuery. Why is jQuery exciting? It is a strong library that has a lot of support. What it does is solve a lot of problems programmers have had in trying to make a unified user experience across different browsers. We do not have to rely on fallback code to make it work in different browsers. But don't let that fool you into thinking you don't need JavaScript anymore. jQuery is powerful, especially when combined with JavaScript techniques. But it is best utilized when you understand JavaScript so that you can make the best use of jQuery. So how does it work? It is a file you include in your web pages. It lets you find elements using CSS style selectors and then do something with them using jQuery methods. jQuery doesn't do anything you cannot do with pure JavaScript. jQuery is just a JavaScript file. However, it makes coding much simpler. Using raw JavaScript is almost always faster, but because the coding process is simplified, it allows for faster development. A special note, the jQuery.on method is used to handle all events. jQuery is handling all the cross-browser issues we saw in the last chapter. Please look at this chart. As you can see, there are many jQuery events. So let's dive in and start using jQuery. The first step is to get jQuery. So we're gonna go to type jQuery in the browser, and Google's gonna show us the results, jQuery.com. That's where we wanna go. So once we're on the page, jQuery.com tells you a little bit about jQuery, what is jQuery, some corporate members, and some other little bits of information. But what we're really interested in is getting jQuery. So click on the download link, and it tells you a little bit about it. There's two versions of jQuery, jQuery 1.0, 1.x series, and jQuery 2.x series. Important thing to note about jQuery, the difference between these two is in jQuery 2.0, it does not support Internet Explorer 6, 7, or 8. So if your application needs to support, i.e. 6, 7, or 8, then you should go into the jQuery 1.x line. And then it gives you various ways to install jQuery with Bower, a migrate plugin, or the most common way is using a CDN. CDN is a content delivery network. So if you include this code, it's hosted by someone else, and they keep the file for you. And so and this also helps with caching. So if someone already got this jQuery file from one of these CDN networks, then it won't download again. So and they even give you the code to include in your web page. And there's of course other CDNs. Google has their own CDN, Microsoft, then there's CDN.js network and JS Deliver. So some people like to use the Google CDN. So let's see what they show here. And here's the snippet code you'd use for the 1.x line and the 2.x line. And if you need a specific version, they also tell you which number to use to put right in here. And if you need the mobile version of jQuery, there's that. And I believe Microsoft page should look the same. Oh, looks very different now. But they can tell you jQuery version 2.0, 2.01. So with that, I want to talk about the books website. So type JavaScript book, and let's go to the main page. So this is the book we're using, and if you click on code, you can download all the code from all the examples of code from our book. So if we click this, it'll ask us download, it'll be done, and let's see. Oh, look at that, September 2015. So they updated the code. And then you can work with the code here, extract it somewhere on your computer, and you have the source code available. But it's always best to write out all the code yourself. But for now, we're gonna go explore some examples of jQuery. All right, so we're gonna break this lesson up into a few parts. We'll go through part A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, with the final piece being the example. So in our basic example, Let's take a look at the JavaScript code. Let's look at it in here. Nice color code. And okay, there we go. So here we see selector. We're going to select for header. We're going to add the class headline. Then we're going to get line item. We're going to hide it. Fade in 15. And then if you click it, it's going to remove. So here we go. We see this remove means whatever I am. So line item remove. So when we run the example, we see they faded in. And if you click one, it's going to remove it. So this is jQuery's built-in looping method. You see those here. So what's going to happen here? It's going to go get the list item with emphasis, and we're going to add a class seasonal. So if we look here in the source code, list item, there's emphasis here. So it's going to add a class to this, which is seasonal, and then here, anything that is a list item with class hot, it's going to add class favorite. And so let's see. So we see class hot is on the first three, and they look different than the fourth one. So with those 2 lines of code, we did all of that. Okay. And then there's chaining. So what is chaining? Okay. Chaining.js. And so we can add multiple methods to one selection. So here we're selecting, we want list item, but we want the ID to not equal, I should make this bigger. There we go. So list item, or the ID, it does not equal 1. What we want to happen is, let me separate these out to separate lines, so you can take a look at what's happening. And this semicolon indicates the end of the chaining. So first thing you want to do is hide it. We're going to have a delay of 500 milliseconds. So when you see these numbers here, these are in milliseconds. Then we want it to fade in 400 milliseconds. Next, list item, the first child of a list item, we want to add it to class. Next, and then a list item with class, so see dot class from CSS, dot priority, we're going to add another class to it, highlight. So when we hit chain, we see everything came right in there. And so this one was ID number 1. Take a look at source. ID 1. So list item where the ID is not 1, which is 2, 3, 4. What happened? We'll do that again. So we will then see this be on the page first. These will be hidden. There'll be a delay of 500 milliseconds as after the page loads. Then these will slowly fade in 1400 milliseconds. While that's going on, the first child is going to have class next and add class highlight to the ones with priority. Let's see which ones had priority. Class hot, 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 hot. Do I even see priority in this one? Do not see class priority. Okay. Oh, we did see the chaining. There we go again. Fade in. Okay. Our next example, getting at content. So get HTML fragment. So Fragment JS. Okay. Here we go. So this one is var list HTML equal ul.html. So get all the HTML from the first or unordered list, then append, meaning add that same HTML to the existing unordered list. But actually, this is not what it's doing. So let me explain. So first, we're going to grab all the HTML that's in the first unordered list jQuery sees. Then, whenever we see an unordered list, we're going to append this first one's HTML. So we could write this out as the first UL's HTML, append it to all ULs. So how do we demonstrate that? So get HTML fragment here. Okay, so now when we look at the source code for this one, here's the unordered list, the first one. I have a second one which I have commented out for now, but we grabbed these 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and then we appended it back to the UL so that I would have the same content again. So when you look, like, okay, oh, that's where I'll put it again. So I grabbed these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and appended it again, and we'd have again another 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to uncomment the code at HTML fragment. So this is the second UL. And when I look at the page, okay, so it grabbed the first UL's data, appended it to the first one. I saw the second one, but it did not grab these values because it grabs the first values it sees, which are these 4, and it appended it to this one as well, which are the first 4 values. Let's take a look at the source code. Here's the second unordered list, and I have these values, yummy, nummy, and honey, and lolly, but it did not duplicate these values. It did find these first ones. So that's how this works. See? Here. So now we're going to go to the next example, which is getting a text fragment. Get text fragment, JS, okay. So var list, so we're going to grab the text of the list, first unordered list it sees, and then we're going to append it, a paragraph with that text. And let's see how that looks. So it grabbed all the text and appended here in a paragraph. With the source code, there's no paragraph there. So I just grabbed these values here, only the text, not the full HTML, and outputted it back. Now let's say you want to get a node. Here we're going to grab, let's see, grab node. Okay, that's better. Okay, this should be easier to see. So var list item equals the first list item I sees HTML. Then we're going to append an italicized list item. So we go here. We're going to append it to all list items. So whatever's in the first one, fresh figs, so now appended to all of them. And so whatever CSS they had makes it nice and small and italicized. So that's the end of 7a. Okay. Now if we want to add a text node, we do the same thing over again. Get text node. Okay, text node, yeah. So instead of HTML, we're grabbing only the text. And we're appending it. So it should look very similar. Except it has all the values. So now let's say one of the most important things is to change content. Changing content JS. Okay. All right, so list item contains pine. We're going to change that to almonds. List item with class hot. We want into HTML with a function return an emphasis this text. So whatever the text of this list item is, emphasis. This is written here as a function because we're not passing it anything, but we want it to know whatever, as it goes through whatever list item with class hot it becomes, get its own text. And finally, list item ID1 remove. Okay, so let's take a look at that. All right, that's almonds. So we look at the original text. So list item ID1 was removed. We had this one contained pine nuts. We're searching for pine. So we found it up. This one has pine. Change its text to almonds. So this whole thing got removed into almonds. And let's see, emphasis. Okay. And honey was replaced with HTML emphasis honey. So look at that again. There it is, italicized honey. No longer pine nuts, it's almonds. The first value of fresh figs was removed. So now let's say we want to add new content. So our unordered list, first one you find, before had class. We're going to add this text, p class, notice just updated, and then list item dot hot prepend the data plus, and then we got see new list item. So we're going to have that be this text here is going to be this list item. So list item, last list item, afterwards add this new list item, gluten-free soy sauce. So let's see how that looks. I think I clicked the wrong one. There we go. Okay, gluten-free soy sauce. And anything with class hot was prepended with a plus sign, which we do see right here. There. If you look at the source code, there's no plus sign. Those were prepended. See class hot, prepended, plus sign. And plus sign here. And oh, just updated was this one here. Unordered list before. Now let's say we want to work with the attributes. Okay. So list item with ID 3, remove the class hot, and any other list items with class hot, we're going to add a class favorite, And then unordered list, we're going to add attribute ID group. Okay, that's what happened here. Move class hot. And now let's make some modifications. That same one from hot, cool. Let's see what happens. That one changed to blue. That's class cool, cool color. So third ID3, we remove class hot. We added a class cool. Anything other than this with class hot, we added class favorite, which gives us nice little hearts. If we wanted to, dot cool here. But if I did this, sorry. So this updates in the memory. So as it's updated in the memory, it knows that this is now class cool, and then to add class favorite, which gives this heart. If I move this to the beginning, it doesn't give it a heart, because at this point, as it's loading, it has not been given class cool. It becomes class cool down here in the code. Right. So afterwards, it gets class cool. Gets class favorite here. And so that's the end of 7b. Now, now let's change some CSS. So here we are, and we're going to get the background color of the first list item. So list item.css background color, and then write what the background color was after the list. And so we're going to append, the color was this background color. And then we're going to set many different CSS properties. So list item, CSS properties, but we're going to change the background color to this one. We're going to add a border, 1 pixel, solid and white. We're going to change the text color, and we have the text shadow, the font family, and we're going to have some padding. So when we look at CSS, okay. So the color was this, and it's now this. Of course, to use this hexadecimal, you can change this one to RGB 125, 125, and 125. That changed the background color, but the original color was still this one. So that's changing CSS from within JavaScript. Of course, you can use HSL. Fine. You don't have to change the color. Our green text changes to green text. You know, you can play with anything you want here, just like with regular CSS. Now you can even, misspell stuff. sans serif type font. White text. So that's working with the CSS. Okay. This one's a very important one. Each. Okay. So list item, each of them. So every list item you get, we're going to store the ID, this .id, so list item, into a variable IDs. Then we're going to this append span class order IDs. So for every list item, we're going to grab the ID for that list item, if it has that property, and sort in this variable, and then we're going to append it. So let's take a look at that one. Okay, there it is there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we look at each.html, we see that. Now let's create one element without an ID and see what happens. Surprise cake. And surprise cake doesn't get anything because it doesn't have an ID. So I did this one, ID equals cake. It would show up as cake. No ID, nothing happens. Okay, that's the end of 7C. Okay, go on to 7D, events. Okay, events JS. All right, so we're going to declare IDs as an empty string, list item. For list items equals all list items. So here's the JavaScript's on method. This handles all events. So list items, this one here, on, mouse over or click. We're going to run this function, self-running function. So what's going to happen is, like before, we're going to see IDs. It's going to be this ID, the list items dot children. So we're going to add a child. So list items children span. So the child of the list item span, we're going to remove it. Then we're going to append another property, which is actually going to be span class priority with this ID, and close the span. But then we do mouse out, means when you move the mouse away from it, we're going to remove that span, child span. So let's see that in practice. So the mouse is going to go over it, and then it's going to remove a span if it's already there, and then it's going to add append span with the ID. Okay, and let's add one without an ID. Let's see what happens. Okay. Time birthday cake. There's no ID on this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then nothing because there isn't an ID. What does the debugger say when we do that? Nothing. Okay. The event object. All right. So list item on click. So when we click any of the list items, we're going to run function. So list item span. So that. So any list item with span, we're going to remove it. We're going to get a new date variable, new date variable using today's date. Date.setTime e.timestamp. So this is the event we're passing. So we're going to get the timestamp of it. And var clicked equal date to string. So clicked is now going to be this date in a little bit friendlier string. And now we're going to this append. So this list item that was clicked here, we're going to append this span class date clicked and type. So event type. Let's go take a look at that. Click event. Okay, mouse over. Whoa, see? So when we do click or mouse over, it tells us the event was a mouse over. Let's see, click it, yeah. Changes to click, click, click. Changes to click. But if I start moving the mouse again, of course, it changes back to mouse over. So when you pass E, you're passing the event here. So the event's timestamp and E type is the event, the type of event. Event delegation. Okay, pretty exciting. So on click, okay, so when click or mouse over, not ID 4, got here, status important. We're in the function, list item, target, text content, the data, the status, the event type, event with E type, and so ID notes is going to get the HTML, this list item, the item status, and its event type. So let's take a look at that. So here we've got the item fresh, status is important. Looks like we passed in status here, so that's always important. Click event, mouse over, then click, just like the last example. But here's the item, text content is actually the text of this one. So that's event delegation, it's very powerful. So that's the end of 7D.